Hello everyone, my name is Tellomello. You see, I'm a new YouTuber who's only just recently started on YouTube, and I currently, don't judge, only have 5 videos uploaded so far onto YouTube in 6 months. But don't judge, slow and steady as they say. But nonetheless, I've been getting an itch to try something beyond just, well, basic survival Minecraft. And that itch is Pokemon. Yeah, I'm a fan of Pokemon, rather recent actually. But I'm not an expert on it, so manage your expectations here. So, with the need to scratch this itch, and wanting to challenge myself to start a second series, separate from the Minecraft survival series I'm currently doing, I've decided that we are going to be embarking on an adventure through the amazing world of Cobblemon, a mod that seamlessly merges Pokemon with Minecraft. But, there is a twist. Throughout this series, I myself can only use turtle Pokemon. And this includes land-based tortoises as well, okay? I don't want to be too strict here, because there are some Pokemon that look really turtle-like in appearance. But I'll leave that up to you guys to decide if it's considered a turtle. Oh, and by the way, I've added a small number of light and friendly mods on top of this. And if you want to know what they are, I'll put them in the description for you. But I promise, this is going to be a very fun and interesting experience for both me and you. And I'm also doing this as a voiceover. So yeah, first time for everything. So, without further ado, let's get started and set off into the amazing world of Cobblemon. Before we got started, I had to choose my starter. And I mean, you saw the intro and the thumbnail. I of course had to choose Turtwig. I mean, come on, look at this little guy. And it's not just because I like Turtwig, or the fact that this little dude is one of the few Pokemon in Cobblemon that can ride on my shoulder, at least when he's still small and little. It is also the only one out of the 6 turtle Pokemon available that is a grass type. In fact, it is going to be the only grass type Pokemon on the squad. And the fact that it is a starter, and that it's going to be a pain in the butt to try and find later, I figured I'd rather not make my life difficult. What? No, don't worry, little dude. I'm sure we will find more Turtwigs out there in the world, okay? Just have the faith. With that settled, I proceeded to acquire the basics. Wood, tools, food, a bed, all the while with my little buddy on my shoulder, who at this point, I decided to name Tutu, a suggestion made by my dad. Why Tutu? It doesn't have to mean anything significant, okay? We simply took the word turtle and just took the first 2 letters and repeated it twice. If it's not creative enough for you, or you don't like it, too bad. It's been set in stone. I then proceeded to take a quick walk across the land and into a nice lush forest, before coming out on the other side and spotting a village in the distance, going up on a gentle incline and leading up into a taiga biome with a mega taiga just behind it. As you can tell, I'm currently not using any very beautiful shaders, since my computer will convulse and try to strangle me. However, despite it not being as cinematically beautiful as some people using complementary shaders, I like how it subtly enhances the visuals overall. It just makes it more vibrant and alive, at least to me. I then proceeded to borrow whatever I could find in the villagers' houses. I even paid a visit to the Pokemon Center, with a healing station inside. I also switched up my boring gray bed for a purple one, just because. Alas, there doesn't seem to be much in this village overall, and honestly, I thought about staying here, but Tutu doesn't like it here. Isn't that right, buddy? Either way, I still decided to take down the coordinates of this village, just in case I needed to come back to it for villagers to trade. I also decided to grab some spruce wood, as well as grab some saplings. With that done, I left the village behind, to search for the perfect place for me and Tutu to call home. However, I didn't even wander that far, and I found myself a cherry grove biome. And even more fitting, it came with a naturally spawning pink sheep as well. I believe its chance to spawn naturally is 0.164%, but what are the chances of it spawning in a cherry grove biome of all places? I mean, the biome is not that big, but man is it beautiful. There was even a ruined tower not too far away. I'm not too sure what it contains, but hey, it could very well contain some valuable goodies which we can loot for later. I then began to survey the place with Tutu, to decide if this was the place where we should call home. What do you think, buddy? I mean, it wasn't far from the village, so it would make getting villagers for later much easier. And the open plains below would make a great spot for building. That's if I end up changing my mind. In the end, it was decided. This was the place where we would call home and make it our own. However, before we decide on a specific spot we should build our home, we need to go get ourselves some more resources, like iron, copper, gold, the lot. Thankfully, it would not be too hard, for there was a cave nearby, with a waterfall right next to it, giving us easy access. Of course, I wasn't going to take everything to my name down there, so I quickly stashed them away before proceeding. I quickly got to mining up some coal, before using some of it to craft up some torches. I then used F8 to activate the light overlay mod which I had installed, allowing me to see the light levels of blocks where hostile mobs can spawn, and allowing me to spawn-proof them. Even though I was still largely close to the surface, I wasn't going to take a chance. I then mined up all the exposed iron I could see, before mining up some copper, which is an essential ingredient in many of the Cobblemon mod's crafting recipes. I then quickly returned to my temporary base camp to cook up what I had, before upgrading my pickaxe and sword to iron ones. I even made myself a shield. I then went back down to continue the mining excursion, only to discover a skeleton spawner of all things. Without wasting any time, I swiftly lit up the spawner with torches on all sides, dealt with the remaining mobs, and then looted the chests. It wasn't much, but hey, I got 3 name tags from this. I will definitely put this skeleton spawner to good use, but that's a task for later. Right now, what's important is collecting some more iron. This cave actually goes quite deep, but without armor, I don't feel that confident of going down there just yet. As I continued my ore collection, I found myself a water stone, one out of the many that can be used to evolve certain Pokemon. Regardless, I had reached a point I felt I had gathered enough iron, so I went back up top to smelt them, and craft the smelted ore into a full set of iron armor. Now properly protected, I finally decided to tackle the mob-infested depths below. I carefully and cautiously made my way down, fighting off the creatures of the night, lighting up my surroundings, and eventually stumbling upon some diamonds. I only got 2 though, so I searched for more, and not only did I find more diamonds, I found a zombie spawner! We now have 2 mob spawners. How lucky is that? Unfortunately, the local residents didn't seem too content in letting me mine up the diamonds. Still, they were no challenge. With them dealt with, I quickly mined up some of the beautiful blue rocks, though I left some unmined because I want to have a pickaxe of fortune to hopefully get more. Either way, with my inventory full of goodies, I returned to the surface. As I waited for the ores I collected to smelt, I decided to go gather up some seeds, as well as some sugarcane, and get started on setting up a small farm. I then built up a small pen for some cows and sheep, and as you can see, yep, I can carry them around, all thanks to the carry-on mod. But then, I spotted some pillagers not too far away from where I was. I moved in to get rid of them, before they could cause any trouble. But I didn't want to kill the one with the banner because, well, let's just say I am not prepared for the consequences. Hello, Future Tello here. So, I didn't know that the bad omen mechanic for pillagers had changed. So, yeah, all my precautions here kind of a waste of time. But, oh well, you live and you learn. Anyways, getting back to the video, I tried to get him inside of a boat and move him far away so that I could continue doing my thing in peace. But... yeah, you saw it on camera. The Yungoos straight up got into the boat and killed the guy. Grateful for his help, I let him out of the boat, and we went our separate ways. Hey, if we see that Yungoos again, maybe we can ask if he has seen any other Turtwigs around. Am I right, buddy? Anyways, with that side quest complete, I decided to go and grab a villager from the village from before. And yes, with the mod, I can pick up villagers as well, which is pretty funny. But also a lifesaver. To those who have worked with villagers in Minecraft, you would know the struggle when it comes to these creatures. I then quickly set him up underground, because I do not want any pillagers finding and killing him when I'm not paying attention. I then made him a Fletcher, so that I can trade sticks for emeralds. Emeralds we will eventually need when it comes to getting the mending enchantment for our tools. However, before any of that, we need to make an enchantment setup to enchant our armor and tools. Unfortunately, that will take some time. As such, while we wait for our livestock to expand in population, I decided to make a Pokedex, some Pokeballs, as well as a PC, where we can store our Pokemon. I also decided to do some Pokemon battles with Tutu, as well as scanning any Pokemon nearby into the Pokedex. Of course, the latter was rather difficult for me, because most of the wild Pokemon were a much higher level compared to my partner here. However, it was then I remembered type matchups. So I went to the river nearby to battle some water-type Pokemon, as well as any low-level Pokemon I could find. But then, at the corner of my eye, I spotted our first wild turtle Pokemon. A Chewtle! This is one of the 6 turtle Pokemon that I have on my list, and one of the 3 water-type turtles available to me. Funny enough, I spotted several, so I guess it was a largely common spawn. Unfortunately, most of them were a little too high-leveled. But then, I found one that was level 4, and quickly getting into a battle with it with Tutu, I threw a Pokeball and swiftly caught our second member of the turtle squad. I named him Sheldon. Don't know why, but yeah, Sheldon. Welcome to the team, little guy. Though, sadly, Chewtle is not one of the Pokemon that you can mount on your shoulder. Sad. Regardless, I decided to have Tutu assist in training up our newest member of the team. And would you believe it? The first Sentret we defeated gave us a Silk Scarf, an item that helps boost the power of normal-type moves. And of course I gave it to Tutu, who proceeded to destroy the wild Pokemon, helping Sheldon reach level 7. I was actually hoping for Sheldon to have the ability Strong Jaw instead of Shell Armor, but that's fine. Oh, never mind, there's another Chewtle. I wasted no time in catching it, and what do you know? It has Strong Jaw, an ability that boosts the power of biting moves by 50%. I don't care about having duplicates on my team, at least at this stage, since I can only use turtles. But either way, welcome to the team, Snappy. But then, not even seconds later, I spotted an Eevee in the distance. Technically, Eevee is not really a starter Pokemon, though in a specific Pokemon game, it technically is. So I decided to catch it, which is what I'll try to do if I encounter any other starters in the wild. Of course, it wasn't that easy, with Eevee knocking out both Tutu and Sheldon in quick succession. It was then all up to Snappy, who was already low on HP, but he managed to survive on a singular health point, and with a throw of a Pokeball, I managed to catch it. Snappy is really the MVP for the day. And then, speaking of starters, I found one whilst I was breeding the cows. A Pignite. I wasn't sure if I had enough Pokeballs for it, so I swiftly placed him in a boat, ferried him over to base camp, quickly crafted up some more Pokeballs, and proceeded to try and catch it. I was pondering if I should get into a battle with him as he constantly kept breaking out, but hey, there was no need. Oh, by the way, if any of you would be so inclined, I would be happy enough to let any one of you guys watching name him. The Eevee as well. Do leave your suggestions in the comments. Right, it's now time to actually make some progress. I need obsidian for the enchantment table, and thankfully, there was a pool of lava not too far away from where I am, which granted me easy access to this near indestructible block. I then used it to craft an enchantment table, but of course, we need bookshelves. But yeah, we still don't have enough cows to supply us enough leather. So, while we wait for more cows, let's do some other things, like setting up a mob farm with those 2 spawners I found. It's not going to be the most efficient farm there is, but hey, it gets the job done. Not only that, it is now a source of infinite levels. Levels which will prove useful when enchanting our tools and gear, which we will begin right now. Never mind, I have sighted a wild Squirtle. Oh my gosh, it just spawned as I was tending to my crops. I of course tried to catch it, but the turtle squad was no match against its incredible dance moves. And not to mention, it was pretty high leveled. Inevitably, I was running low on blue Pokeballs, which I really wanted to catch it in since it matches the color, not to mention its typing. I wasn't going to let this rare find get away, so I placed him in a boat and ferried him over to base camp. I then tried to catch it with my remaining Pokeballs, of which that attempt failed miserably. I then hurriedly went ahead to make some more blue Pokeballs. And again, I used them all, but I wasn't going to give up. Come on, it's like one of the ultra rare spawns, the only other turtle starter that I can use, and it's right in front of me. Wasting no time, I jumped down to access the Mob Farm's collection chest, grabbing bones, making bone meal, growing a blue apricorn tree, and then hastily harvesting as many blue apricorns as possible. I then swiftly made them into Pokeballs, and just started spamming them. And sure enough, our will to never give up paid off. Welcome to the team, Gamera. And sorry for the possible head trauma I have unapologetically given you. Anyways, what was I doing? Ah, right. With the livestock grown, I harvested their leather to make bookshelves to complete the enchantment setup. I also made a grindstone in order to disenchant the item if the enchantment was not to my liking. We have an infinite experience farm after all, so I wasn't going to be too troublesome. With all that complete, the first thing I would like to enchant is my pickaxe. And I was looking for Fortune 3, so that I could maximize the amount of drops I can get from ores. And wow, okay, that's good. I also made and enchanted a diamond sword. I wasn't that lucky this time, however, and had to disenchant it several times. But regardless, I took the best one I got. We can fix it later. For now, I went back underground to mine up the diamonds I had left, only to stumble onto another zombie spawner. I even found 2 exposed amethyst geodes. However, I decided to focus on gathering up any exposed diamonds and ores I could find. We can mess with those another day. Alright, I think that's a decent haul. Let us return to the surface. But not before I grab some dripstone, which I used to create a lava generator to have a renewable source of fuel to smelt down all my ores. And now, with all that ore smelted, I quickly went ahead to kidnap another villager to make him our mending book merchant. Of course, this took a while. But hey, we managed to get it. Still horribly expensive though. Either way, we finally get a mending on our tools. Did I say tools? Yup. I finally have a full set of enchanted diamond tools. I even managed to upgrade my diamond sword by combining it with another one. No looting, sadly. And you know what? I think it's about time we name our 2 villagers. The Fletcher, of course, will be named Robin, and Librarian will be named Merlin. Oh, by the way, while I was in the middle of enchanting my tools, a reboot spawned. And not only that, it was quickly followed by a Quaxly. It's actually the starter I picked when I played Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for the first time. And despite its final evolution being, well, interesting, I still love this little guy. But to you haters out there who have opinions against its second and final evolutions, don't worry. I can understand why most of you guys didn't choose Quaxly. Either way, they are still starters, so yeah. Throw those name suggestions in the comments. Okay, now that we have the proper tools, it is time to begin collecting the blocks we need to build a proper place for us to call home. Because, well, we're basically living out in the open, with no roof over our heads. Now, listen here. I am not that great at building. Never was, never claimed to be. So, I built this house in my creative world instead. Not bad, eh? I was proud of this. It took me a while to figure it all out though, but I dare say the results were rather satisfactory. Now, as you are all aware, there is a mod called Lightmatica, which enables you to upload a schematic of your builds from one world into another world. Basically, it's kind of like a digital blueprint that can help make building much easier. However, I don't have it installed, simply because my computer keeps blocking it, as it keeps labeling some part of the code as potential malware. I don't know why, but yeah. So, not wanting to take this risk, I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way, by simply referencing key parts of the build via screenshots, which I sent over to my personal laptop. But still, we are going to get this done. And besides, I'm not going to follow what I've built 100%. I foresee myself modifying it as I go. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get started. The first thing we need is wood. To be more specific, we need oak, birch, spruce, dark oak, jungle, and warped wood. We already have plenty of spruce and we have easy access to oak and birch, but we need to go and locate the remaining types of wood we need. I know warped wood can only be found in the Nether, but I am scared to go in there. For now, I prepared myself for the long resource gathering journey ahead, and by running the /locate command, we can easily find the biomes where these types of wood can be found. I decided to go to the coordinate of the Dark Forest first. And wow, look at this. This was so beautiful. The forest edge hanging off these steep cliffs make it look so grand. Come on, you know I had to take some shots of this place. There was even a lush cave beneath all of this, and I couldn't resist going in to plunder Mother Nature's bounty. Of course, I didn't forget about the dark oak wood we needed, but I still took the opportunity to scan some mons for the Pokedex. I then headed back, only to stumble onto a mushroom biome of all things. There were plenty of mushrooms there, but also this strange-looking Miltank. It's as if the biome itself had forced the Miltank here to take on this unique form. Huh. Interesting. There is one YouTuber who has a deep distaste towards this specific Pokemon. Not like he'll see this video, but if you know, you know. Either way, I noted down the coordinates for this place before heading back to base to offload the stuff we have collected. Alright, time to head towards the jungle. And on the way there, I found a swamp biome. I will come back to you later. The jungle was so much farther away compared to the dark forest. Like, really far. But eventually, I spotted the tall shoots of bamboo in the distance, all but indicating that we had arrived at our destination. There was even a savanna biome nearby. And not only that, there was also a mangrove swamp. Seizing the opportunity, I grabbed up the wood and saplings for all three, as well as some bamboo and vines. I then headed back to the swamp biome and waited for nighttime to find slimes. And most importantly, frogs. As most of you experienced Minecrafters know, frogs are required in the process of creating froglights, and I would love to use them in my build, or perhaps in more builds in future. And even cooler is that depending on where the frog grows up, you can get variants, and from each variant, they give you a different colored froglight. It didn't take me long to find them, and with the slime I acquired, I bred them. I then waited for the eggs to hatch into tadpoles before scooping them up into buckets. I also kidnapped one of my parents to take home with me. Again, we returned home. I put the stuff away, planted the bamboo so that it can grow, and then placed the tadpoles in their respective biomes so that I could get the two other frog variations. I went to a rather small desert, and then a snowy slope just behind the cherry grove biome to do this. And I am not going to show you how it went because I just sat there and waited for them to grow up. So, have this clip of this cool Skarmory instead. Oh, I named the frogs Fred, Frock, and Flip, by the way, so that they won't despawn. And before any of you ask, no, I will not be explaining why, because there is no why. I then went back to Set Desert to gather up some sand, and with all the sand I'll need, I hope, I went underground to gather up the various kinds of stone-related blocks I required. Not to mention, any diamonds and ores I came across, because I can't help myself. I then decided to try and get looting for my sword, so as to improve the mob drops from the mob farm, and get more bones for bone meal to grow my trees. Oh, I also don't know why there are so many Combi just chilling here. I don't know. Days later. Okay, I really needed a break from resource gathering. So, I decided to go search for one of the two fire-type turtles. The easier one to find would be Torkoal, which can be found in mountain biomes. And lucky for us, there's an extreme hill biome not too far away. However, when I arrived, I instead found this odd Petalil. This one was clearly different, and when scanning it into the Pokedex, it registered it as a different form. On closer inspection, I noticed its leaves were droopy compared to the normal one. By comparison to the Miltank on the Mushroom Island, this difference was more subtle. I kind of like it more. Still, as much as this piqued my curiosity, I couldn't find a Torkoal on this mountain. So, I went over to another one. I found some Dawnstones, but still no Torkoal. So, I went to a third mountain. Surely third time's the charm. Right? Yeah, no luck. And I just realized this was a windswept biome too, so yeah, I just wasted my time. With a sad look on my face, much like the droopy leaves of this Petalil, I headed back home, only to have my spirits uplifted as I came across not one, but two Dittos. Unfortunately, I had to deal with a bunch of pillagers first. And, yeah, don't worry, Tutu and Gamera are fine, they're fine. Trust me. However, the second Ditto got away whilst I was distracted in the middle of the skirmish. Oh well, at least we now have a Ditto. Not a turtle, but it can turn into a turtle. Regardless, it is most definitely not a turtle, so it ain't going on the team. It may be helpful in future though. Okay, time to get back onto that grind. Or get distracted again because I found another village. One of the villagers here was a mason who traded emeralds for bricks. And as it just so happens, I was about to go gather tons of clay to make said bricks. Without second thought, I kidnapped him. However, this was not going to be near enough, and this process will still take a while. So I went off to gather some clay from deposits found in the rivers. But it is good to have this guy, just in case I need to have some bricks in a jiffy. Not to mention, trade regular stone for more emeralds, which I thought was a sweet deal. I then upgraded my smelting setup to be more efficient, so that I can turn those clay balls into bricks. I also made another, to smelt my ores gathered during my underground resource collecting. Okay, I have put this off long enough. It's time to go to the Nether to acquire the remaining building materials we need. This, of course, was going to be dangerous, so I made myself a full set of enchanted diamond armor, though substitute with a gold helmet for now. I also gave myself an enchanted bow, so that I can deal with those pesky ghasts. So, with a bunch of obsidian, I built the portal, brought it to life, and feeling genuinely scared, I entered the Nether. Thankfully, it was in a sheltered spot, so I was safe. For now. I then quickly took this chance to dig out an area and set up what would be the Froglight farm. Once done, I used the /locate command to find the warped forest, which thankfully wasn't too far away. However, we first have to traverse this soul sand landscape. Cautiously making my way out, I headed towards the coordinates I had been given, but I quickly decided to tunnel there instead. I felt too exposed on the surface, and I was scared. Then, as I dug, I eventually arrived in the Crimson Forest. I was pretty terrified, as was Tutu, because fire, death, and whatnot. But still, this place was certainly something. Regardless, I was still too terrified to admire the scenery. I just wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. Oh, I sort of cheesed this a little bit by using free cam to map my way forward, but I don't care. I was scared, okay? The last time I went to the Nether back when I played regular server Minecraft on the PC for the first time was like years ago. And frankly, I was more than terrified, especially when you constantly hear the gas screeching out overhead. And it was made worse because I was hearing piglins grumbling so loudly that I had to double check if it was behind me or something. Shout out to the developers making this game more immersive, but I shouldn't have to pause every now and then to check and see if I'm about to be jumped on from behind. With my ranting completed, and with my cheat mining strategy, I eventually arrived at my destination. With my silk touch pickaxe, I swiftly picked up some warped nylium, as well as a mushroom which grows into the warped tree. Why am I not harvesting the wood here? Because it's the Nether. I would rather grow and harvest it safely in the overworld. Did I hear you guys say that's lame? That's a cowardly strategy? Well, too bad. I don't care. Okay, it's now time for the dangerous part. Finding a piglin bastion to grab the magma cube spawner that's usually hanging over a pit of lava, surrounded by piglin brutes. Hoo boy! I decided to use the exact same strategy, and hey, some ancient debris! Awesome! Maybe the Nether isn't so bad after all. Using the same strategy, I cautiously mined my way there, and sure enough, I found it. The structure was pretty intimidating. However, if I build out along the sides, provided I don't end up falling into the lava, I should be fine. As I built up along the wall, I could hear the telltale sound of magma climbers jumping. Cautiously digging into the blackstone, I tunneled inside, only to then glimpse upon the last piece of the puzzle needed to finally have froglights, the magma cube spawner. Of course, I had a couple of challenges. 1. Exposing myself too much and having piglin brutes have to drop on me. 2. The magma cubes hitting me into the lava if I push too close to the edge. And 3. Me being an idiot and dying somehow because lava bad. But there was no way I was going to die here. Not when me and the turtle squad had come this far. So, carefully checking and plugging in any gaps to make sure no piglin brute sneak attacks me from behind, I tunneled up, termiting my way over, and successfully grabbing the spawner. I then wasted no time and headed back. And just when I was a few steps away from setting this thing in place, a gas literally floated down from out of nowhere. What? I wasted no time and stopped what I was doing before swiftly cutting it down from the sky. And with no more obstacles, I swiftly placed the spawner inside the farm. All that was left was getting Fred, Frock, and Flip into position. Bathing them one last time as it descended down the waterfall, I brought them into the Nether. I put them in their place, and voila! We now have a Froglight farm, and in no time, it yielded us Froglights. Psst, link to the tutorial I followed will be in the description below. Me and the squad couldn't help but taunt these losers, as we watched them jump down into the powdered snow, only to be slowly split up and eventually get ingested by the frogs. Ha! Losers. Anyways, with that done, I then proceeded to grow and harvest up the warped wood. However, this was another challenge, for I was getting more warped blocks than the wood. Thankfully, upon googling, apparently, other than being a rather pretty block, they can be composted for bone meal. So, I made a setup to compost them, which I then used to grow more warped wood. Nice to see everything coming full circle. Recycling, baby! I didn't need much, thankfully, but I still needed more clay for more bricks. On the way to collect some more, however, I found a Galarian Ponyta. This one I know of quite well, because the first official Pokemon game I ever played and owned was Pokemon Sword and Shield. That was fun, and it still is. If you want to see me play it, do let me know in the comments. Either way, with more clay gathered and smelting away, Tutu and I decided to go choose the perfect spot for our house. And I think this area here will be perfect. With the backdrop of the cherry grove on the top of the mountain behind us, as well as being close to the water's edge, I think this will be the perfect spot. And wouldn't you know it, Tutu agreed. I then quickly marked out the basic outline of the build, before laying down some polished tuff for the floor. I then used some stone bricks to lay down the first layer of the would-be eventual walls, which we are going to build up right now. I used stripped spruce logs for the supporting pillars, and then filled it in between with stripped birch, though leaving gaps for the windows, which I made by smelting the sand I gathered into glass to make glass panes. Now, as you can see, the bottom is clearly hanging over nothing. But don't worry about that, because I have decided to give it a custom stone base. I made these stone brick arches for the outline, and then filled it in using various kinds of stone to add some texture. Honestly, hand on heart, it is harder than it looks. And to all builders out there, I respect and salute you. You are all talented and creative individuals, and don't let anyone say otherwise. But, either way, I think it did pretty well in all things considered. Oh, while I was building up the stone foundation, a wandering trader spawned in, and he traded 24 emeralds for a PokeNav. Of course I bought it. However, I'm not going to show you what it does. You have to stay tuned for the future episodes to find out. I then continued building up the second floor, building up the pillars even higher, filling in the floor with dark oak planks, and then using the mixture of granite and bricks to fill in the walls. I then used the warp wood I gathered to create these pretty trapdoors, which I added to create these shutters that will frame the windows on either side. Then, as I was going to sleep the night away, a Torkoal spawned in on the mountain just behind the house. Unfortunately, it was level 46. I want this series to, last. And if I get that high level of a Pokemon now, I felt that would ruin the experience. I could knock out almost any wild Pokemon with a level 46 on the team. Not to mention, level up the squad pretty fast. So, for the sake of the series, for the sake of savoring the gameplay, and with a heavy heart, I decided to let it go. Ignore the fact that Gamero was level 20 when I caught him, okay? He was a starter, an ultra rare spawn. There was no way I was going to pass him up. No way. Anyways, on the topic of starters, not even a few minutes later, a Tepig spawned in. I actually had the spawn notification mod installed. But when I looked back through the footage, or as you may have realized when the previous starters I caught had spawned, yeah, it wasn't working. There should have been a notification when any of the ultra rare Pokemon spawned in. And since all starters are technically under the ultra rare spawn bucket, yeah, don't know why it was not working though. Anyways, of course I caught the Tepig, but then, as I was filling in the rooftop, another Reboot spawned in. All I needed now was a Score Bunny to complete the evolutionary line. I then continued to work on the house, completing the chimney and adding little details here and there, like sprucing up the pillars and shaping up some arches on the second floor. I also made packed mud to turn into mud walls, which I used together with spruce fence gates to create this decorative railing on the outside of the second floor. Now, as for the interior, I of course finished the fireplace. I then had to fill in the area around the staircase with lots of bookshelves. And let me tell you, this took a while. I had to murder so many cows. And honestly, I was getting sick and tired of hearing the constant mooing. It was driving me mad. Oh, the sheep weren't helping my case either. On the upside, while waiting for more cows, because making bookshelves takes so much leather, another fire starter spawned. A Cyndequil. Hello, my spicy friend. You're not a turtle, but like I said about the starters, I ain't passing it up. Also, I would like to interject that despite the fact that just because I'm using only turtles, it doesn't mean I will be fully ignoring the other Pokemon. Sure, I could use only turtles, but that shouldn't stop me from exploring this entire mod to its fullest. Oh, look! I finished the storage room that will be located on the second floor. I even moved in my auto smelters. I then decided to work on what would be the rooftop garden. I tried to do some texturing with some pot soil, which I harvested by giving my shovel silk touch, before using spruce trapdoors to create these little areas where some crops can grow. Said crops being carrots and potatoes. And while I was doing that, another Cyndequil spawned. One more, and we can complete the evolutionary line. And by that, I mean level them up to reach their second and final evolution forms. But, back to work. I then added some more growing areas, and in these planters, I decided to grow some orange berries. I then used some of the moss I gathered, bone mealing it to add some greenery to the place. I then added more bookshelves to the interior, before moving in my enchantment setup to the second floor. I'm not very creative with interiors, so I usually just add a ton of bookshelves, which also takes a ton of time and lots of cows. You know, it's kind of been a while since I've seen any Ultra spawns, never mind a Sprigatito spawn, as well as another Tepig. I quickly placed a Tepig in a boat so it wouldn't despawn, but despite having the coordinates, I just couldn't find the Sprigatito. And after a while, I failed to find it. It couldn't have despawned because I would have shown in the chat. So, yeah, it's a mystery. Well, at least I can catch this Tepig, and... okay, another Cyndequil! I now have enough of these two fire starters to complete their evolutionary lines. Though, as I was finishing up the house, I was still inwardly bummed that I missed a starter. I know another one might spawn eventually, but still. Either way, if it spawns again, I won't miss it the next time. And actually, you all might not be aware, but I have been playing for a long time. Long enough to where shiny Pokemon should have spawned. When I set up this file, I adjusted the odds for a shiny to spawn to be 1 out of 4,096, which is the base odds for more modern Pokemon games, which is a huge booster all things considered, when the default shiny rate in Cobblemon is 1 out of 8,192. Of course, I didn't go into this thinking that I was ever going to find a shiny, like immediately, but at this point, I was seriously contemplating if I was ever going to find one. Holy moly, a shiny spawn. Oh my god, a shiny caught me! My first shiny in my Cobblemon playthrough. In this series, I had made yellow Pokeballs for just such an occasion, just waiting in my inventory to be used. But I didn't think I would end up using all of them. Of course, I used the vote method and made more. And eventually, several yellow Pokeballs later, we caught it! We caught it! Turtle Squad forever! It wasn't a turtle, and I won't use you, but you are an honorary turtle. I then let out all squad members to introduce themselves to this incredible find. But then, as if the world wanted to just keep on giving, I had a triple starter spawn. A Blastoise, another Cyndequil, and another Quaxly. Sadly, the Blastoise despawned, as well as the Cyndequil. But hey, I caught the Quaxly, but that wasn't the end. Oh no! For not even moments later, a Quilava spawned, as well as another Squirtle. What? I of course quickly caught the Squirtle, because turtle starter, dude, this is what the series is all about. And then I also caught the Quilava, even though I technically don't need it. But who cares? This was awesome! And what do you know? All this excitement happened when I was pretty much done with the house. Ignore the fact that one room is empty. I have plans for it later in this series. Honestly, this was quite an episode. We found tons of starters. Rare turtles even. Don't worry, little buddy. They're out there, and slowly but surely, we will find them. Anyways, this is just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. There were actually so many other things that I came across during this playthrough, but I couldn't show it all, nor do it all. Not all in one episode at least. This mod pack is full of adventures yet to be had, and not to mention, passion. I can feel the amount of passion and drive the creators and developers put into this mod to create this unique Minecraft experience that carries together the joy of Minecraft and Pokemon, all in one package. It truly is special. It gives the same feeling back then when I finally played Pokemon for the first time. And I didn't want to rush through it. I wanted to savor it. And honestly, taking things slow is truly the way to go. It may take a while, but hey, that's fine. We take things at our own pace. And even if you are falling behind, just know that you will catch up. Not as fast as others around you perhaps, but hey, slow and steady wins the race. So, thank you all for watching. You can do me a huge favor by hitting that subscribe button. And do also hit that like button, so it at least tells me you enjoyed it. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but do leave your name suggestions for all the starters, the newest Squirtle on the squad, as well as our shiny Cottony in the comments. Either way, stay hydrated, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next episode.